Well, hello again. This is Ray Morales for The Blind Spot. And today my guest is Joe Mornini. And Joe is the executive director of Team River Runner. So, Joe, how are you?
I am good, Ray. Thank you so much for having me on.
Sure. Can you tell my listeners a little bit more about Team River Runner?
Well,
How was
Team
it
River
founded?
Runner.
And
Oh, sure. Sorry to cut you off there, but Team is an adaptive and adventure paddling program for, primarily wounded and disabled. We're inclusive, so any military individual can take part in our program wherever we have chapters all over the nation. We're about 20 years old now. Started at Walter Reed back in 2004, and we're still there, and now we're in many locations throughout the nation.
well, what gave you the idea to start this organization in the first place?
Well, I'm a paddler, I'm a kayaker. Kayaking meets a lot of my particular needs of being outside, having adventure, getting some exercise, being in nature, and having some excitement and a skill to try to build on. And so, paddling became my go-to sport. Running has always been difficult for me because I have a bad right leg. My right knee is not has had many surgeries on it. So, sitting in a kayak was every bit as good or better. Those of my friends and I that were paddling regularly here on the Potomac River knew that there were a number of returning wounded from both Iraq and Afghanistan to Walter Reed, which is very close to where we live. So, a friend
Hmm.
of mine, Mike McCormick, and I decided to start up a program to take them out paddling. The Potomac River is the Aspen of whitewater, and we thought that these combat veterans would be, more than anxious to get some adrenaline back in their life, doing something different than combat. So we invented a program called Team River
Oh,
Runner.
cool. Awesome. And so you talk about Mike McCormick. Now, you guys, were you buddies? Were you both in the service, or how did you guys
Actually,
get to
ne-
meet?
actually, neither of us were in the service. Mike is a friend of mine. He's a paddler. He was on the U.S. Whitewater national team years ago, the slalom team, and I've been
Oh, wow.
instructing kayaking for many, many years. And we were paddling together pretty regularly and came up with this idea. So we wrote up a program and pitched it to Walter Reed. We were fortunate enough to get a really great officer there named Barbara Springer to help us get started. Mike was with us for a couple and had kids and went on with his life, and I just stuck with him. Now we're where we are. We're a pretty big organization.
Well, God bless you for sticking to it. That's for sure. Or else we wouldn't be talking today. Um, so tell us a little bit about you, yourself, and your family, and things like that.
Sure. Um, I'm a retired special education school teacher. I spent 40 years working with at-risk kids that had behavioral or emotional issues in schools, and I have a beautiful who's actually the team ever runner. I want to make sure knows that I just go out and paddle, and she does a lot of the thinking. I have two daughters, three grandchildren. I feel very, very lucky and fortunate in life to have had the opportunity to be able to give back to others in a meaningful way, and Team of Runners become that way of doing it.
Cool. All right. So
Hello. Oh,
tell us a little particular story that comes to mind when you think about Team River Runner, and maybe a good adventure or something humorous.
we've had a lot of humorous stuff. I would say that the military, you're you're funny and you work on each other. You don't hold anything back. There's no boundaries with y'all. So I could say that there's always something funny happening. But I think many amazing things happen with Team River. We're able to put just about anybody into a kayak with any type of disabling condition they happen to be living with. So spinal cord issues, blind, missing limbs, post-traumatic stress, hearing loss, vision loss, you name it, we can put them in a boat. And we have been fortunate enough to be the organizations that was willing to take totally blind veterans, put them in whitewater kayaks, and have them be guided and run whitewater independently in their own kayaks. So that's, I think, one of our most successful adventures, because the Blind Veteran Association is very aware of us, has funded some of our programs before, and refers a lot of the veterans that are in the BVA to us. So we took 5 blind veterans down the Grand Canyon back in 2019, which we hope would make a really big impact, in the media, which it didn't. But it was still a great adventure, and those individuals are still paddling with us today.
Yeah, I'm aware of a few of those. I'm a member of the BVA myself. Actually, I'm the vice president of the Illinois chapter. But it's uh, it's fantastic what you guys do. How you talk these veterans into getting in a kayak. They can't see a thing, and then you shoot them out down the Grand Canyon.
Pretty amazing, and I'm kind of hoping that you're going to be paddling with us too, because you're right there in St. Louis, near where we have a really great chapter that I'm expecting to see your name on one of our lists of paddling with us.
uh, just keep looking. You'll probably see it there soon. That's for sure.
Okay,
I've got some engagements coming up early in the summer, but I think I'll be free later in the summer.
great,
Um,
great.
we know we have our national convention in Jacksonville, Florida this year, and that's in July. But I think after that, I'm pretty much free. So who knows? I
All
may
right,
be coming knocking on your door.
I certainly hope so.
So tell me a little bit more about exactly how this works, because I just can't wrap my little head around that. Somebody throwing me in a little kayak and shooting me down a whitewater river, it just boggles my mind. I mean,
Well,
I can barely make it through the living room sometimes with
well,
obstacles.
Well, of course you can, because you're ready to paddle right now, just with that kind of an attitude, which is I'm not sure I can. So that's what we do, is we take individuals that have never considered kayaking as a sport, and we put them in. So it's not all whitewater. That just happens to be one of the things that we do that seems to get the most notice. But I would say the majority of our program is really in pools or on open water. We are a lifestyle program, so we want veterans need to be with veterans. They serve together, and they understand each other, and they talk a common language no matter which service they were in. And so that's one of the hallmarks of our program, is lifestyle paddling. And so in order to be a lifestyle program someplace in the north, you got to have a pool. So we paddle a lot in pools into any kind of a situation that would be dangerous. We're all about safety. So everyone starts in a kayak that fits them, that they're comfortable in, and we start them in flat water, making sure that they have the skills to be able to move on to anything they want to do. And if they want to just stay working and paddling in open water and not do white water, we have a lot of really successful chapters just like that. They don't do whitewater, but they regularly go out and paddle each week. Veterans being with veterans, and veterans being with volunteers in the community. So it's an opportunity to for a veteran to be with those that they may be able to help them with any support with some issue that they might have, and also to be with the community. So it's a win-win for everybody, right?
I see. And do you do any type of paddle boarding?
We do. If you
Anything
paddle
like
it,
that?
we've got it. We use rafts, stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, both whitewater and recreation, and sit on top kayaks, um, i- inflatable kayaks. We have if any. We are a adventure and adaptive um, paddling program. We don't use motors. The motor is your body, and so we work very, very hard to make sure that we include all types of paddling and all types of crafts so that people can be comfortable in what they're trying to paddle.
And I'll start asking some of the basic questions that someone wants to know. Does it cost anything for a veteran to be a member?
No, it's free. We're a volunteer organization. We have a small paid staff to monitor the funding for equipment and gear and training and liability insurance, but it's all free. All of our chapters are run by volunteers. Many of those volunteers are veterans, or a few are even active duty military. They create teams of other volunteers so they could have weekly paddling somewhere in their location. So we find paddlers in the community that know their resources so they can safely put veterans and individuals that might come with any particular disabling condition safely out on the water. So totally free, volunteer. Um, and we work very hard to find the funding to be able to, create more chapters. Presently, we have 50 active chapters in about 30 or 32 states.
Wow.
And we're always looking to start more.
Wow. And you've done this in what, 20 years?
Yeah. Yep. We started with a few boats underneath my deck and my friends, and a local kayaking school that I actually taught for called Liquid Adventures. Tom McEwen donated his van and boats for us to take down to Walter Reed at the very beginning, until we started being able to raise the money to buy our own equipment and vans and trailers. And so from those humble beginnings back in September of 2004, we are now all over the country. I'm sure we've got more than 60 trailers in the country, and a few vehicles, even not many. They're expensive, but we're we're a busy little group.
And so, how much would it cost a typical person that joins to be?
Nothing.
No, I'm
It's cer-
saying, how much would it cost to go with you to kayak?
well, they just have to get their own transportation there, so that's really the cost. And
Okay,
then
so
come.
they don't need their own kayak.
No, no. We have all the equipment. All you need to do is show up with a good attitude. So,
Okay.
example, when Ray finishes his BVA convention, he'll show up at the kayaking venue, which is maybe on a lake, it might be in a pool at the VA, and there'll be a kayak there and a volunteer who might be a veteran himself or herself, and help you get into the kayak and become a skilled paddler, and then eventually be able to teach others.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure my listeners are going to want to know how it went. So I'm going to have to do a special episode, bring you back again, so we can laugh about me being in a kayak.
I think that would be a really good idea, because if you had an opportunity to try it out, say at a pool, and then got me back on, we could talk to you about your experience, and that might help your listeners say, "Oh, that makes sense to me," because you would have a more personal viewpoint about the adventure, and it'd be very
Right.
safe, and you would have fun, Ray. I guarantee.
They would say, if that fat idiot can do it, anybody can do
That's what they say about
it.
me, Ray.
Well, I've seen your picture. You're not a fat idiot. I can tell
uh,
you that. You look pretty fit.
yeah, well, we
Um, Now
looks are
tell people, how
deceiving.
old are you, Joe? If you
I'm
don't
set.
mind.
I'm 71.
71.
Yeah.
And you're still out there doing it. Man.
I'm actually sitting in my van with a trailer hooked up, and I'm heading to the river right now to help get a boat out for an 89-year-old, no longer active. I think that's what you say, no longer active Marine, and an NLA Marine, who's 89, is going to be paddling whitewater with one of our volunteers. And so then I'm doing an adaptive program later this afternoon. So literally, I'm sitting in a van getting ready to go. So I don't know if I'm
Oh,
active or not,
wow.
but I keep moving.
Yeah, you do. Well, what is it? I heard a saying you told me the other day we were talking that if you're not active, you're what? You're dying? Something like that?
Moving is living. Steve Baskus. That's I
Oh, okay.
actually
There you
have
go.
that on my helmet. I have that saying on my whitewater helmet. Steve Baskus is a hero. I'm one of the five individuals that ran the Grand Canyon. He's amazing. I would encourage your
Right.
listeners to take a look at our website and see some of the cool stuff that we're doing there, and see that
Yeah, let's go ahead and mention that for people that are listening and are very curious, like I was. So go ahead.
well, the website's our name, Team. We're a team of people out on the river, runner, teamriverrunner.org. We're an organization. So if you go to teamriverrunner.org, you'll find us, and just poke around. There's an awful lot of information there. We have all kinds of adaptive instruction that's free. All of our pictures, we want people to put it out there. We want individuals to know we exist and refer to us, those veterans that might be able to use our services. I mean, you and I both know, Ray, there's a lot of veterans that have gone dark. They're having a lot of difficulty, reacquainting themselves with being out of the military or dealing with their disabling conditions. So, getting veterans with other veterans that can help them walk through those difficulties in a fun and enjoyable connection with other veterans and volunteers and reconnecting the community could help save some of those veterans from making difficult decisions. So
Right,
we
right.
we take what we're doing with a lot of fun, but we also know it's kind of serious as well.
Exactly, because you don't want when veterans go to the dark side, it's not pretty. I mean,
Right.
I've interviewed a lot of veterans. I've interviewed um, a lot of blind veterans and a couple that were blind and amputees, such as Brian Harris for sure. You know him,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and he's he's had some bad days too. I mean, we've all had our own bad days. I'm visually impaired and happened because of a stroke back in 2012, and I had some bad days. Um, I was totally blind for the first week, and then it slowly came back, but not 100%. Um, but that's everybody has a different story, and that's the whole reason I started this podcast was because I started hearing these veterans tell their stories when I was at a rehab center, and I thought the rest of the world needs to hear this, and so the blind spot was born. And now I interview people that are helping veterans, not only veterans and their spouses and their families, but I'm interviewing vendors like yourself that provide a service for our blinded community. So I do appreciate you very much, Joe, and I praise God for the work you're doing. And I know you have another obligation that's later this morning, so I'm not going to keep you long, but I do want people to know how they can reach you. So it's teamriverrunner.org,
Correct. And if you
correct?
email info@teamriverrunner.org, I see those. Um,
Okay.
and I'm always available. You don't need to make an appointment. Executive director is just a couple of words. Doesn't mean much unless you're actually trying to get the job done. We like to call it butts and boats. We want to get your butt into one of our boats. So
You should make a bumper sticker like that.
yeah, and actually I got that from Pam. Oh, what was her last name? But she was the executive director of the American Canoe Association, and when she retired, doggone her, we were having a meeting or having a talk at her retirement gathering, and she mentioned that to me. I said, "Can I steal that from you?" That was way back 19 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's
She probably won't even remember it. She just probably thought she was just talking the conversation. Probably just rolled off her tongue.
because it was Pam. She's you know having industry. So um, I feel very for myself. I feel, lucky that I'm able to do what I'm able to do. It's all be able to talk to someone like it out to others to help. May have some difficulty. So listeners, that we would look if we have a
You're
chapter
breaking up, Joe. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up real quick because it looks like your phone connection is not super good like it was yesterday. All right, so folks, this has been The Blind Spot with Ray Morales, and we will continue talking to Joe after I'm done paddling. So, Joe, thank you so much for being on the show, and let's hope you have a great day today. And if you'll stay on the line, let me do a little bit of housekeeping here, and then I'll get back to you. Okay?
okay.
Well, folks, thank you so much, and thank you, Joe, for being my guest today. And if you want to get a hold of us here, you can reach us at theblindspot298 at gmail.com. Theblindspot298 at gmail.com. And you can also reach Joe at info teamriverrunner.org. That's teamriverrunner.org. Be sure you put info in front of that so you can get Joe. He'll look at all of those emails. And if you want to be a guest on the show, just email me and let me know. a little bit about yourself, and if you are a blinded veteran, that's especially what I'm looking for, and caregivers and other vendors maybe that are helping the blind community. So please let us know. And if you have feelings of darkness, like suicide or uh, any other kind of depression or things like that, please get in touch with someone. They can help. All you got to do is reach out, and that number would be 988. That's 988, and someone will be on the line to help you. So again, until next time, this has been Ray Morales with the Blind Spot.